Instructions regarding an interest in a business. This is really important as we get to the business rules. So we want to make sure you have specific instructions regarding a business if you hold it, along with what I mentioned earlier, which is property tax and the property tax exemption. So on business issues, let's take a real quick look. Many of you are thinking, oh, I don't own a business. All right, well, I want to see by a show of hands how many of you either own a business or you have an interest in an LLC that owns something, or you have an interest in a partnership that owns anything, not just a company with employees. So how many of you have at least one of those three things? Okay, a good amount of you. All right, so the rest of you, you can listen. We're going to go through this in very rapid speed. Those of you who raised your hands, please make a note because we are offering a business checkup, so make a note of anything you want to discuss. The key is that every business in California must hold regular meetings and with memorialized minutes, and it's required that this is done annually, at least annually. This is not just for your business. This is if you have an investment in a business, they're supposed to be doing this also. Corporations in California, as you can see on the screen, it says California law provides that all shareholders have a general right to inspect all annual and special meeting minutes as well as certain documents and reports presented at such meetings, including accounting books and records. There's also a corporations code that has a $250 penalty per day when you've requested financial records and they're not provided. Lastly, corporations and LLCs, California law requires each entity to file regular statement of information forms with the Secretary of State. We call these SOIs. Many of you who have businesses and entities, you're familiar with them. They're routine, but they do matter when there's a disability or a death, and we find out everybody runs to the operating agreement, everybody runs to the bylaws, they run to the SOI, and they go, okay, this is all binding now. So if somebody wants to buy out someone else, if they're who can control it, all of those documents are now binding, and now they matter. Where before they kind of put them on a shelf, didn't think about it, the minute there's a disability or death, these things are binding, and now we're stuck with whatever rules that we have. Failure to do any of these items can result in fines, penalties, suspension, and if you're filling in the blank, the word there is piercing. Piercing of the corporate veil, or even forfeiture of your entity. Now, some of you that raised your hand about businesses, you already know about piercing the corporate veil, but I thought this diagram would help explain it for all of you. Because if you're thinking it's not my business, I just have a percentage interest or I just have shares, think again. So here's the issue. Clark, sorry, his name is just Clark. Clark sues the company. And Clark could be an employee, could be a vendor, could be a customer, could be any individual whatsoever. Clark sues the company. Either the company has no money, which is what it says at the bottom, or Clark looks and says, look at the investors, they're all rich. I think my lawsuit damages just went up. Well, why? Well, because if Clark can pierce the corporate veil, how could he do that? Well, you can see on the screen. If there are no filings, no minutes, no registered agent, or any of those items are incomplete. So if there's any compliance issue, one of them that's not listed is undercapitalization. Somebody starts a business, it looks like a sham, it's not going to provide insulation if it is a sham. If you pay your dry cleaning out of your business account when dry cleaning isn't involved, you don't have uniforms, these types of issues are relevant when there's a lawsuit. So we look at the minutes well in advance to prevent, I always look, because we have a litigation background and we handle these disputes, we always look at the minutes and say, why would you ever put your bank accounts and their bank account numbers, where you hold them? You'd have to show these to somebody suing. Why would you show what you approved in retirement accounts? You approve it, you do a resolution. We don't want that in your minutes. We want them to have to hunt and get past first base before you ever had to give this kind of information out. So looking at the minutes from a perspective of litigation is extremely valuable. They're going to be entitled to them. You just saw the earlier slide. So this in litigation, how do they get this information in litigation? Because you have to prove they cannot pierce the corporate veil. You have the burden to show how well you've been in compliance and you deserve the protection of California and California law. So what's the problem if they pierce it? Well, look at the right. What does it say? The owner, and in this case it's only one, but owner Joe's personal assets can be lost in the lawsuit. So why is compliance important? It's designed to, as you can see, protect not only from creditors, lawsuits, and taxes, but it's designed to protect your home from them, your own bank accounts, and your own investments from creditors, lawsuits, or taxes. So it's very important to have that done properly.